Swear, but that's one of those games that's probably more fun to me with a strategy guide because like the fun is going crazy, but actually sort of following out a professional written guide and being like, oh, okay, like this is where all the items are hidden, this is where a monster will be. I think I kind of got to sit back and enjoy the weird ambience of it more as I punched the microphone by accident. Yeah.
Yes. What is the game that you like but everybody else hates?
There's
Blue Stinger.
Yeah, number one blue sticker. Now there's a lot of games. I think funny enough, Call of Duty Ghosts is one of those games that is like people like everybody hates Call of Duty. That's like the meme is like, eh. But specifically for some reason, I really latched onto Call of Duty Ghosts. I probably put 50 or 80 hours into just the multiplayer of Call of Duty Ghosts, and people are like, no, it's trash, it's all camping. Well, I'm the guy camping, and you can just get really mad at me specifically.
Effective was probably the best part of multiplayer for me.
Yeah.
So good.
It was built differently, and I think that's what pissed off the Call of Duty community. Is it was more methodical and slower, and most people were like, "No, I want Call of Duty to be robots and zombie robots and nothing else."
No.
Yeah,
What's your favorite RPG on the Dreamcast?
Grandia 2. It's such a hard call, but I have to say it's almost a direct tie between Grandia 2 because I think it's literally the best turn-based combat mechanics of any RPG ever, and Skies of Arcadia. Grandia 2, if y'all haven't played it before, has this really interesting thing where basically when you go into a battle, first of all it starts playing this sweet guitar music, it's like, "Meow!" And then when you're in an actual fight, you have this action bar that says like the amount of time you have to wait, and then you choose your spell, and then there's like a 1 second timer until you cast it. If you hit somebody while their timer is going, you can delay them. So there'll be bosses that specifically will be like casting a giant heal, and you can target it and try and stop their attack. So it makes it where it's a turn-based RPG with some strategy elements, and Skies of Arcadia is just a more classic turn-based RPG, but it's giant. Like Skies of Arcadia is like probably a 50 or 60 hour RPG. It's across 2 giant Dreamcast discs. It's fantastic.
Would you say it's as good as Dakota 2?
Yes, I think it's a lot better than it, but I also think Suikoden 2 is coded better. I think that the biggest problem with Skies of Arcadia is you basically have to play it on the Dreamcast. They did a re-release of it on GameCube and they messed the audio up. The recompiling makes everything sound really messed up. And I always feel like that kind of hurts a game overall if certain ports are bad. Yeah.
Speaking of the whole ports deal, unfortunately, didn't bring enough cash to get a Dreamcast, and the versions of Grandia I have are the only ones I have either for the PC or the PS2.
Yeah.
And I noticed that the PC version of it crashes and crashes and crashes
Oh yeah.
so much that I had to that's a play through the PS2 port, even though there's a drop in frame rate.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think of the PS2 port?
It's good. I don't know because they changed the cutscenes to have more action in them. There's like side-by-side comparisons where in the Dreamcast version, he'll like run into a camp and like screen will turn black and you'll see someone like fall over dead. Whereas in the PS2 version, they rendered all the cutscenes. They like pre-rendered all the cutscenes. They're not in-game engine, and so it definitely feels the same way. Code Veronica on Dreamcast. Chris loses the final fight. Like they like changed cutscenes. That's such a weird thing they did. A lot of Dreamcast games that got ported to PS2, they changed the cutscenes completely, and I never understood why. They're like, we gotta have more action. We gotta crank it up.
Hey, Dreamcast guy?
Yeah.
Wasn't this the same room you were in last year? Like the exact same room?
It is. I believe I sat in this spot right here. Yeah.
What is the most overrated game you played? The kind of game that if you said anything bad about it, you get crucified for it.
All right, feel ready to get mad at me? I don't like God of War. I'm the only person in the world I hate the God of War series. I've tried too. I sit down with it all the time. So my problem is I read a lot of fantasy novels, and one of the favorite things about fantasy novels is the character figuring out the magic, figuring out like this is how the world works. Whereas God of War, he's like, all right, I got my biceps. Who needs to get bicep? And that's boring to me character-wise. Like every single fight for Kratos is equivalently hard. He never has this like even the biggest baddest monsters in the universe. He's like, all right, well I'll just tap circle a couple times and rip their eyes out. So that's definitely the one that I disagree with everybody else on. I will be playing the new one though. That one looks good.
Okay.
I guess I'll tell you all a random story. One thing that people usually ask me a lot, which is why I started doing YouTube, what really kind of kicked me to try and be a YouTuber. In 2014, I was working at a bookstore over in Mesquite, and I liked the job. But it was one of those things where you feel like you're going nowhere, you're just kind of doing it over and over, but it paid the bills. At the time, I was also sort of doing YouTube, but I wasn't taking it seriously. And one day, I opened up the store, I'm counting all the registers, and I'm like super exhausted. I was playing video games all night like a mature adult. And so while I'm sitting there just super, super tired, a freaking car crashed into my store and just crushed the whole back of the store while I'm standing there with a money tray. Right then I was like, I think I'm gonna go become a YouTuber. So
Oh my god.
it was one of those times where like, you know what, I could die at a bookstore, or I could die at least playing a video game. So yeah, follow your dreams. Yeah.
Yes, hi. Playing Aries over Dreamcast game played. All the ports that come from Dreamcast ported to PS2, GameCube, and all that. Name a game. Do you know of a game that would be considered better on a Dreamcast than any other console?
I feel like a lot of them are. I prefer the original version of Code Veronica. One that comes to mind for me is definitely, dramatically so, if you get the super rare version of Shenmue 2 on Dreamcast. It was only released in Europe, but if you get it, it actually has all this extra connectivity. You can get the European version of Shenmue 1, beat it, and you make a special save file, and it actually carries over to Shenmue 2, whereas if you play Shenmue 2 on Xbox, it just like makes up a save file with like random collectibles. It still tells the same story, but I feel like the Dreamcast version is far superior. Yeah.
What is the game in the Tony Hawk Pro Skater franchise do you think this theory truly started to go downhill?
Where did it begin to go downhill? Probably Downhill Jam. It's so hard to say. The Tony Hawk series started out really, really good, and it just so quickly went off a cliff. They were just like, all right, we need more of these games. In Tony Hawk's autobiography called Hawk, he actually even mentions the fact that they were just churning those games out as fast as possible, to the point where people were asking him for autograph. He would like be at Burger King with his kids, and someone would walk up with a copy of like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 and have him autograph it, and then there'd be a sign next to him that said, "Pre-order Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3." And he was like, all right, this is too much. We're doing this too fast. Obviously, I played Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5, and I gave it a 2 out of 10 when I reviewed it because my save file deleted itself when I was on the last level. So, it was one of those things where I hated they sent me. I was one of the few people who got an early review copy for some reason. And I'm like, this is a great opportunity. I should really check this out. And I start going into it, and I just get like, I'm like, okay, this is kind of garbage. All right, let's see if I can figure this out. And the more I get into it, I'm like, all right, this is definitely flaming garbage. And then my save file deleted itself. And I'm like, all right, cool, we're done.
Do you think the franchise will ever get good again?
If it's done by a totally different studio. The studio that's working on it right now, Robomoto, is like, it's definitely a company that's made to be what they call it's a mill. They just churn stuff out that has a good branding on it. And they, like, people actually hate this studio a lot. People follow them on Twitter just to like insult them. And I noticed a couple weeks ago, they're like, we'll do a special giveaway. Like, if you want a copy of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5 on Xbox One, tweet out your favorite Tony Hawk moment. And all the replies were like, you suck. And they like tweeted out, 2 minutes later, like, all right, if the first person who's not a jerk gets a free copy. They're just like, all right, we get it.
Who wants to